Okay, everybody, welcome to Contra Costa Tail Spinners September swap. No, August swap. Jumping ahead of myself. Wonderful to see everybody. We have a great evening ahead of us. Um, Before we get to tonight's stories, I want to mention the SAC genre events. Um, we had the August one last week, and it featured Rose Owens, who's here again and who told us her story last month, and then told it to genre, and is here with us again to tell us a different story tonight. And I just got to listen to the recording. I was not able to be there on the night of, but I got to listen to it and it was so wonderful. So whether you were here last month and heard it or you missed it last month, you should definitely go on. And she's the first one too. So you can just jump in here right away. And then next month, so that was personal stories. And it's always what is it, the third Wednesday of the month in the evening on Zoom. And next month is Folk Tales, and Renu is going to be our nominee, and so she's going to be part of that. And so I'm just going to put in the chat here both the link to the recording of August and how to find out about September and all the other ones and register for it. It's free if you're a SAC member. And if you're not a SAC member, you should be, right, Sarah? And uh, and um, and it's only $5 if you're not. So it's a great chance to connect with storytellers from all over the state. So just wanted to plug that before we
And
get
the
to the
world.
stories tonight. All right. But now we are, and give a few more people a chance to join us. Welcome everybody who just came in. Wow. We've got almost 20 people here. Yay. That's great. Well, we have as our featured teller, our special guest, and who's going to tell the first story tonight, Lucinda de Lorimier. I'm saying your name wrong, Lucinda.
Really, you did a great
Okay,
job.
I did all right. All right. So I am just so thrilled that you're here, Lucinda. Um, Lucinda says that she has practiced the art of storytelling and brought its heart connections to people since 1986. And that she sees her storytelling and storytelling in general as a force for positive change, as a way to grow storytelling, both empowering listeners and empowering more storytellers. And she says that she loves the unusual stories, the old stories, that kind of different ones with a little twist. And I love those too. So, and I just was thinking about you, Lucinda, and thinking that in the decades that I've been involved in the California storytelling community, you've been such a vital part and delightful part of so many things that I've been involved in. And I'm sure others here, have other connections. But Lucinda is one of our magical storytelling librarians, of whom we have others here tonight and who are just so vital to the to storytelling. She also taught and helped direct the Dominican College Certificate in Storytelling program. Who besides me is, yeah, Jean, others, yeah, yeah. And and that was such a vital part of I mean, I would not be a storyteller without that, and it's just been so important. She has been involved in the Bay Area Storytelling Festival and especially the Sierra Storytelling Festival very actively for many, many, many years. Um, she was part of the Silk Road House Storytelling, the series of stories from telling stories from Central Asia. A lot of us have been part of that. And she's been a very regular part of the Epic Day storytelling gathering that happens twice a year. So especially for those of us who love the traditional old stories, Lucinda, you are always there and you always just make everything you're part of better and more fun. So here we are. She has left California. She lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico now, but she tries to come back for these events. But today she gets to come to us from her living room or whatever room in your house you're in. And we're so glad you're here. So uh, I'm gonna spotlight you for everyone and take it away.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, you remind me of a lot of good times working together on storytelling with a lot of you in California. Well, so I'll go. I actually have two stories for you that will fit into my time space. They're both from Asia. One is from Central Asia and the other from South Asia, the state of Kerala, Southwest India. But first, the story from Kazakhstan. And Dana Sherry actually translated this story. She sent out a lot of stories. Several of you, I guess, if you have worked with the Silk Road, have might remember that she sent us all a bunch of stories from Central Asia. And this is the one that I had chosen to tell at the Silk Road. She was glad that I was going to tell it again, so I'm glad we're recording and she can hear it again, her own translation. So, without further ado, let me begin. Once in the world, there lived a poor widow woman and her one daughter, the flawlessly beautiful Mirjan. Now, Mirjan had recently come of age, and the young women of the Aul, the village, had invited her to go to the river with them on a hot day to bathe. She'd never been along with them before, but she gladly joined them. They went to the river, they shed their clothes, and when the other girls saw Mirjan, they went, "Ooh, Mirjan, you're so pretty. You were hiding yourself from us. Oh, if a Hun were happened to come, who'd happened to come along, he would say, 'Oh, Mirjan, how beautiful you are. My light, I will give you all of my treasure if only you will come and marry me.'" Oh, she didn't know what to do. She had no comebacks. This was all new for her. She just said, "Don't tease me." And just then, on the surface of the river, there was a turbulence. The waters roil, and a voice came from that spot in the river. "Mirtan, my light, won't you come and marry me? I will give you all my treasure if only you will be mine." Oh, the girls shrieked. They ran. They scrambled for the bank. They had just been stepping into the water. They grabbed their clothes and they ran back to the Aul. But they forgot Mirjan, who was standing there at the water's edge, frozen in horror. And then she watched. She looked around. She thought, I do have to go. I don't know what that was. She looked for her clothing, for her tunic and skirt, and there, lying on top of her clothing, was an enormous, coiled in 7 gigantic circles, serpent. And it raised its head until its eyes were level with Mirjan's. And it spoke, "Mirjan, I have fallen in love with you. I wish for you to come with me. I am the Lord of the underwater realm. Come, be my wife. You will have everything you need. I will give you my crystal palace." Well, she couldn't speak. She was terrified. "Mirjan, come now, give me your word that you will marry me. And if you give me your word, I'll let you have your clothing back. But if you won't give me your word, I will take it with me to the bottom of the river." Well, Mirjan knew she couldn't go, a woman couldn't go unclothed up to the owl or back to her yurt. So I, I give my word. With that, he disappeared into the water. She pulled on her clothing. She ran back to the owl. She went to her yurt. Her mother was there working inside, and she fell at her mother's feet, sobbing and crying. Her mother took her into her arms. My soul, what has frightened you? Has some man touched you? What has happened? And Mirjan told her mother what had happened. Oh, my dear, she cradled her daughter, stroked her hair. Oh, just pretend that never happened. Things like that don't really happen. Just get some rest here and stay within the yurt for a while. And so she did. The mother saw to it that Mirjan did not set foot outside the yurt. 7 days had gone by. The mother had stayed close. But then her mother was looking out the open door of the yurt. Mirjan, we are finished. There are there is a torrent, a river of black snakes coming to our yurt. And sure enough, crawling across the grass of the steps, coming from the direction of the river, there was another river, all of black snakes. There were so many of them, you could hear them. She closed the felt door of the yurt and tied it tightly. They pushed everything they could up against the door. The snakes arrived. They pushed from the other side, but the door held. Then they encircled the yurt, trying to find a way in, but there was not a way in. And then their pink mouths opened, hissing at one another as they made their plans. Then they tangled themselves into balls, writhing balls of snakes, which then rolled onto the walls of the yurt. But the yurt still held. And then they took up their second plan, and they drove the ends of their tails into the felt of the yurt all around, so it let them rise up and crawl up to the top of the yurt onto the roof. They gathered there in one spot by the wall, and with their weight, they collapsed. They collapsed the wall of the yurt and came in. Mirjan fainted. They amassed themselves under her. They lifted her and carried her out through the breach in the wall, down to the river. The mother followed at a distance, but she was close enough to see them taking her down into the water. I have lost everything. I've lost my daughter. I've lost everything. She returned to her yurt in grief. Well, the moon waxed and the moon waned, on and on, on and on, until one day, that mother was sitting at her threshold. She saw someone coming toward her. She could tell it was a woman dressed so finely, not someone from their aul. Dressed in velvet, brocade, and silks, and holding in her right hand the hand of a little boy, and in her left hand the hand of a little girl. And they approached. Could it be you? Could it be my Mirjan? It was. The daughter had returned with her children. The mother and daughter embraced and kissed. Oh, come in, I will make tea. They all went inside the yurt and had the salty, buttery tea together and laughed and talked. The little children got to know their grandmother, and it went on for some hours, but the whole time there were thoughts spinning in that old mother's head. I can see that she loves her husband. She loves that odious snake. I have to keep her here. My daughter, of course you will be staying here. You won't go back to that cursed serpent now that you're out of his clutches. Mother, no. No, you see, I am dressed this way like a hansha because my husband is the lord of the underwater realm, and he is a kind and loving man. Yes, man. He is only a serpent when he is on the land. He is the finest father imaginable. He has given me everything. I am in want of nothing. I love him. Well, that must just be our fate. You can at least stay for a while. Oh, no, no, my mother, we have to return by this evening. Oh, so short a time together. How is it that you will go back to that world? Oh, that's simple. We will go to the river's edge and I'll call him, Ahmet, Ahmet. I am your wife. Come, my light, and arise from the depths. We planned this. And that was what the mother needed. Well, couldn't you just stay this one night? Oh, he'll be waiting for us. Stay just this one night for your old mother. All right, but we must go at first light in the morning. So they made their poor meal of the fermented mare's milk and had some more tea, and they went to bed. That was the other thing that the mother needed. She acted as though she, too, went to bed, but she listened for her daughter's long sleeping breaths and for the sweet sleeping breaths of the little children. And then she slipped out of the yurt, and as she went, she took up an axe. She went to the river. At the water's edge, she tried to lift her voice to mimic that of her daughter. And she called out, Ahmet, Ahmet, I am your wife. Come, my light, arise from the depths. Immediately, the head and the long glistening neck of that serpent rose up from the water. Oh, at last you are here. I waited. I have missed you so. I've missed you. I've missed the children. Come, come, let us go back to our palace. He couldn't see who had called him in the dark. And he lifted up and he put his head on the bank and his neck. Come, get on me. Come, we'll go home. And that woman did not lose but 1 second before she raised the axe and let it fall, severing his head from his body. The water from his blood ran crimson. In the morning, Mirjan was happily taking her leave, glad to be able to go back and bid her mother adieu. They embraced, the children embraced their grandmother, and they took their leave. They went to the river. She stood at the edge, holding the hands of her children. Ahmet, Ahmet, I am your wife. Come, my light, arise from the depths. Ahmet, Ahmet, I am your wife. Come, my light, arise from the depths. But as she said it the second time, she felt a cold in her heart that spread all through her body. And then she realized, she looked at the water, and the water still ran red, redder than red. It had stayed there to give her a sign, and she looked around and she saw in the grasses the head of her husband. And then she knew, she understood. all. And she took her children in her arms and she talked to them. Your father is dead. We will not be returning to our home. You do not have a father anymore. And now you will not have a mother. You, my son, and you, my daughter, will become other beings. My daughter, you will become a swallow. You will soar and dip over the waters of the river. And my son, you will become the nightingale who will sing your sweet song at break of day every day. And I will become the cuckoo, always flying from place to place, never finding a home, and always mourning my husband with my sad song. And with that, they each became the birds, as she said. They opened their wings, they beat their wings, and they flew off into the morning sky.
Wow, that is wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. What a tale, huh? Ooh. There are other versions in other parts of the world, but ooh, I love that one from Kazakhstan. All right. And now for a story about a completely different couple from Kerala in India, the lush state of India by the sea. I learned this story from a book, Kathy Spagnoli's Jasmine and Coconuts. I don't know if any of you know that story. Kathy Spagnoli is a fantastic storyteller. I don't know, she used to be in Seattle. She was one of the very first tellers at the Sierra Storytelling Festival in probably '87. And she and her husband did live in India for quite a while. And she brought back stories and she put together this book, Jasmine and Coconuts, which is a lot about the culture as well as folk tales from India, different places in India. So this story goes something like this. In Kerala, there lived a wife and a husband. Now, the husband worked in the fields, and the wife grew vegetables and flowers that she would sell at the market. One morning, she had gathered a lot of vegetables. She'd placed them in a basket, but she didn't quite have time to take them to market. So she asked her husband, please, do you have time today? Will you take my vegetables and sell them at the market? Oh, he gladly agreed. He took the vegetables to the market. He sold them easily. And on his way back, before he went out to work in the fields, he thought he'd stop by the temple of the local goddess. Partly because it was cool there in the shade of the mango trees there by her tank, the beautiful shallow pool of water around the temple, and he wanted to cool off. He sat there enjoying himself for a few moments, and then he noticed something silvery glinting in the water. He looked and he saw, ooh, there was a fat fish, one of the goddess's fish, and somehow it made him think of his wife's fish curry. Oh, toothsome. Oh, her fish curry better than anyone else's. But no, you don't take fish from the goddess's tank. She is a fierce goddess. She is known to inhabit the bodies of people and to exact revenge and even to suck the blood from her enemies. No, you do not take anything from the goddess. You only honor her and give her gifts. And so he pulled his eyes away from the water where he saw even more of those delicious looking fish. And he looked up to avert his eyes, but there, hanging from a branch of the mango tree, there were two perfectly ripe green mangoes, the second most important ingredient in his wife's fish curry. He stood up to leave. He had to tear himself away from this temptation, but he couldn't. He turned back. He plucked the mangoes and put them in the basket. It was so easy. Those fish were so tame. It was so easy to pull 4 of them out of the tank and put them in the basket. I have a marauding cat here. Oh. And he took the basket filled with fish and mangoes home. He walked in. His wife looked, "What do you have in there? Where did you get those?" "I know I shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have. But I did." He told her where he got the fish and the mangoes. I just, I really, I really want some of your fish curry. Won't you please make up some fish curry?" "What do you mean? Why have you done such a stupid thing?" "Oh, if you make it right now and we will eat it, the evidence will be gone. No one will know. No one saw me. We will just eat the curry." She agreed. She loved her fish curry too. "I'm going to go to work. When it's ready, call me and then we can eat." He took off for the fields and she began. Oh, the smell in that tiny house, toasting the spices, putting everything together. Oh, she loved making this fish curry, even though it was a forbidden one. She couldn't wait to eat it. At last it was finished. She went outside. She called him. He must have been too far away. He didn't hear her. And then she realized, oh, I didn't give a final taste to make sure that the spices are just right. So she went in and she took a very small taste. Oh, but I'm not quite sure the spices are right. And so she took a bigger taste. Oh, I need a little more to be positive that everything is balanced. And she took some more. Yes, it is so good. She went out, she called her husband again, but he didn't come. And then she went back in and she thought, well, he's not coming. I'll just eat my portion while it's so hot and fresh. So she dipped out some for herself and mixed it with the rice that was there, and she began to eat. Oh, the best fish curry ever. She kept eating. She finished her portion. She went out and called him again. He still didn't come down. And so she thought, well, maybe he's not very hungry. And maybe that's why he didn't come right down. And so, there's a lot here. And I don't want him to feel obligated that he has to eat all of it. I'll help him out and I'll have another portion. And so she did. Ate some more of the fish curry. She called again. He still hadn't come. She ate some more. Oh, and it's really only good when it's hot. So I'm going to have some more. And a little more. A little more. And to her horror, she realized the fish curry was gone. What am I going to do? I haven't. I haven't. So she took the big black ceramic pot that was the pot for the curry. She went out to the canal that ran past their house. She filled the pot with mud. Then she cut an enormous banana leaf and wrapped the pot in the leaf and set it down inside the house. Then she pulled out the tight braids she'd made that morning and got her hands wet and tangled her hair all up so that it stood out from her head and fell over her face. Then she waited. She heard his footsteps finally coming. And she began to moan When he entered through the door, she whirled on him. You, you miserable thief. You have stolen my food. You, you will pay dearly for this. Oh, oh, he fell to his knees in front of her. Oh, oh, dear goddess, please, please, I am so sorry I took your food. I will do anything. Mercy, mercy. The only way I will give mercy to you is if you return this pot of curry to my temple and put it in the tank through my powers. The fish will live again, and the mangoes will reattach themselves to the tree, and I will have my food back, and never, never do I want to see you again. Yes, 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 anything, anything. I'll do that. So he did. He lifted the pot, he went to the temple, he put the pot down in the tank, and he went back home. And when he got there, his wife was lying on the floor, motionless. My wife, my wife, my wife, what has happened? Are you okay? My wife, he bent down and her eyelids fluttered. And she looked around. What happened? Where were you? Why is my hair all wet and tangled like this? And where is the fish curry?
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, wow. Lucinda, two incredible stories. Incredible.
Please pass them along.
Ah,
Yeah,
wow.
Jasmine and Coconuts, Kathy Spagnoli, a lot of great stories in there.
Yeah, but it's hard to tell them the way you tell them.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, and stories that resonate with other stories from all over the world, with especially those themes of relationships, families and couples, and um, it just makes me feel like, so connected to people in different times and places by some universals, and you really brought it so vividly to life. So thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I love those, I love that. Just what you said. I love that power within the stories and giving it out.
Oh, you did, and we received gratefully. All right, so what a great start to our evening. And now we have a change of pace. We have, but also someone coming to us from far away, and that's Raymond Pierce, who's been coming quite a lot, and we love to have you come to us from Toronto. So I'm going to spotlight our in-house humorist. Please share your humor with us, Raymond.
Thank you, Liz. I specialize in humor, good family quality humor, and personal lighthearted stories that are also humorous. At least some of them are. And I send them out by email every week. My mission as a storyteller is to bring joy and laughter wherever I can. So I offer a complimentary service of family-friendly humor and a personal lighthearted story every week by email. So if that interests anyone, I'm putting my email address here in the chat box. There it is. If anyone is interested in receiving my complimentary humor, just email me. So here are a couple of the kind of stories that I send. This first one is called the curtain rod. So Mary is sitting in her living room with soft music playing. She has a bottle of wine, a bowl of shrimp, and a bowl of caviar, and she's having a feast by herself. This is the last night she'll be in her own living room. The movers have come to take all her belongings to her single bedroom apartment. And then she will take her suitcases this evening and move in to live alone after the divorce with her ex. And as she's sitting there contemplating, she has an idea. She goes around to every room in the house and stuffs half-eaten shrimp and caviar into every curtain rod in the house. And then she packs up and goes to her one-bedroom apartment. The next day, her ex and new younger girlfriend move in. And at first, everything is fine. But after a while, there's an odor that they can't pin down where it's coming from. It seems to be everywhere in the house. And after it gets to be a bit much, they bring in professionals. Opening windows didn't work. Air fresheners didn't work. So they brought in professionals to see what they could do about the odor. They even had the carpet torn up and new carpet put in, and that didn't work. And after a while, tradesmen stopped coming to the house. They wouldn't come. It became, the word got around the neighborhood. They talked to a realtor trying to sell the house, and after a few visits, the realtor wouldn't come back and stopped answering their calls. And so they were really stuck with this smelly house. So the Mary had her best friend lived right next door to her former home and kept her abreast of what was going on. So one night, Mary called her ex to see how things were going. And he told her his sad tale about the smell that they could not get rid of. And she says, well, I've always loved that house. I wouldn't mind buying it back from you if we could make it part of the divorce settlement. He thought, well, yeah, maybe we could do that. Yeah, because we're going to take out a loan to buy a new house. And we got to get rid of this one. Yeah. So she talked him down to paying 1/10 of the actual value of the house. He said, if you sign the papers in the next 2 hours, the house is yours. So he sent a courier over with the lawyer and the papers, got them all signed, and now she owned the house. So the day or two later, the ex and his new girlfriend were watching the movers load up all their belongings to move to their new mortgaged house. And to spite his former wife, they took all the curtain rods with them. I'd like a happy ending, don't you? Thank you. So here's the next one. This is called The Wealthy Brothers. There were two wealthy brothers in Ireland, and they were mean people. They were liars and cheats, scum of the earth. They had all kinds of money, and not many people liked them. And one of them died. And I'm getting a message here. My internet connection is unstable. So if you lose the story, I hope you'll get most of it. Anyway, so the surviving brother went to the parish priest and said, and give the eulogy and find a way to say my brother, dear departed brother, was a saint. I will give you more money than you've ever seen. And the pastor said, well, I don't know. He says, look, Father, I'm going to give you a lot of money. Well, leave it with me and I'll see what I can do. So at the funeral, the parish priest is in the pulpit and his wealthy brother, and he says, the man in this coffin was a liar and a cheat, a fraud, the scum of the earth. But compared to his brother, he was a saint. Thank you.
Ah, good one. Good one.
Thank you.
Good too. Thank you so much,
You're
Raymond.
welcome.
We all need to laugh and you help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glad to do it.
Yeah. And check out if I enjoy subscribing to Raymond's newsletter or whatever you call it, the emails. So please.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say good night to everybody because it's 11:15 here in Toronto.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying up late.
I'll,
All right.
I'll see you all again next time.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So coming to us even further than Raymond is Renu Narayan coming to us from India. And I'm going to spotlight you for everyone. All right. Please tell us
Thank
a
you, Liz. Thank you. So sorry. Thank you. Good evening, good morning to all of you. And today I'm sharing a story I've written myself. It's called Finding Purpose. Manjula woke up with a start, wondering what had woken up. She had been dreaming. And now she was up. She shone the torch on the clock. It was 4:45 in the morning. Might as well wake up, she thought. She turned to look at her husband. He was fast asleep, snoring softly as he dreamt. She got out of bed, finished her ablutions, and went into the kitchen. Brewed herself a nice hot cup of coffee, and went and sat out on the veranda. She was feeling sad, and she had no idea why she was feeling so sad. Everything was going on well in her life. She had a nice husband, 2 wonderful children who were grown up and had left the house. Everything she ever wanted, she had. She had a beautiful house, this garden. She was looking at the trees and the birds. Some of them she could see, some of them she could hear. Everything was perfect, but why was this heaviness in her chest? This feeling of unhappiness. And it was a constant, like a friend who wouldn't leave. She went back into the house. And after her husband had left for work, she called up one of her friends. The phone was ringing at the other side, and finally her friend picked up. Oh, hi, Manju. What's up? Meera, I don't know what's happening with my life. I feel so unhappy all the time. But why? You have everything going for you. You have such a nice husband. Your children are doing so well in life. You have everything. I mean, all the boxes are ticked. So what's happening with you? I don't know. That's why I called you. I just want to know, how do you feel these days? I'm fine. I go to work, come back in the evenings, and then I have to cook a meal for my husband. Unlike yours, who knows how to cook, mine doesn't. So, it's a usual routine, I don't have time to think, Manjula. Maybe you need to take up a job. Who's going to give me a job now? Bye, Manju. It's getting late for work. I'm sorry. I'll talk to you some other time, okay? But that never happened. None of her friends ever called her back. Who should I call next, she thought. She dialed again. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Manju. What's up? What's happening? How come you're calling me quite early in the morning? I'm feeling a little bit down. I don't know what's happening with me. Manjula, you really need to start looking at what you need to be grateful for. By the way, is your husband nasty to you? Is he abusive? No. Is he having an affair? No. Isn't he giving you enough money to spend? No, he gives me enough. Then what are you cribbing about? You have everything going for you. I really don't understand why you're so unhappy. I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm calling up people and asking them, are you also feeling the same? No, I'm not feeling the same, though I don't have such a nice husband like yours. I think you're just too spoiled for words, Manjula. Grow up. And the call got disconnected. So that was all that it took to have a husband who didn't cheat on you, who kept you happy, who gave you money to spend. Wasn't there something called companionship, someone who spoke to you and actually listened when you spoke? Yes, husband was nice. Yes, he did occasionally cook, but he never had time for her. He was always busy, working for half a day, then off he would go in the evenings to meet his friends. He had so many interests. Why couldn't she develop some interest too? Finally, in the afternoon, she called up her mother's oldest friend. She was very close to her. Her mother had passed on, but This friend of her mother's was such a nice person. She loved to talk to her. She dialed, hoping that her friend would be at home and she would pick up the call. Indu was always so busy doing this, doing that, and though she was 90 years old, nobody would ever say that. Finally, the call was answered. Hello, Manjula, it's been a long time. Indu's voice was warm and so comforting. Indu, I don't know why I'm feeling like this, Indu. I feel so sad all the time. Okay, so tell me. Oh no, she's going to start advising me like the others, thought Manjula. Tell me, Manju, what is really bothering you? What is happening with you? What's happening in your life? Tell me. The first time somebody was actually willing to listen. I have no clue, Indu. I just feel sad and unhappy all the time. You know, Sudhir is always so busy. He goes to work in the mornings and then evenings he's off with his friends. He has so many interests. I don't know what to do with myself. Well, Manjula, I think you have just need to find your ikigai. What's ikigai? It's your passion or purpose in life. You know, as we grow older, our children grow up and we spend our entire life looking after them and doing all the things that everybody does. When you're young, you go to college, you finish, you get married, you have a job. Maybe you have a job or you don't have a job, but your children are there. If they grow up, they leave the house, and then you're left with nothing. If you had really spent time exploring your talents and found something that you really love to do, you wouldn't be feeling like this. So what do you suggest then? Why don't you go and find something for yourself to enjoy? But I don't know what to do, Indu. You're so lucky, you're so popular, you're so famous, you're so good at writing books and illustrating them. I don't have anything like that in my life. You're so lucky. Well, Manju, yes, to a large extent, I'm lucky. I grew up in a house where there was art all over the place. Both my parents were artists, my grandmother was an artist. And of course, that influence rubbed off. But I've also been working very, very hard, over the years. I really worked. And when everything is digital, I actually did a course and I learned how to draw digitally also. So it's not just luck, it's a lot of hard work too. And I'm passionate about what I do. I think all you need to do is find your passion. And remember, Manju, you're not allowed to call me again for the next 6 months. I'll wait for your call after 6 months, okay? Okay. Manjula sat and thought and thought. What could she find to do? And she started scouring the newspapers, looking at all the ads. She found different ads and she went and joined a Ikebana workshop. That was interesting, but didn't really grab her. She went and joined a gardening course. She went and joined a crochet workshop. She joined so many workshops, but nothing was holding her interest. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months passed by almost, and she was just waiting to fall into again. Maybe there's something wrong with her. Maybe she had no talent. Indu had told her, everybody's got a talent, a hidden talent. You need to find it yourself. Nobody can find it for you. And remember, you need to find your happiness. Nobody can make you happy, Manju. Find it. As she sat there, wondering whether she could call Indu, one of her friends called. Hi. Hi, Preeti. I haven't heard from you in a long, long time. How come? I just want to come over and meet you. Can I come? Can I come now, Manju? Please, please. Are you going to be at home? Yes, I'm going to be at home. Please come. 10 minutes later, the bell rang. She opened the door and there was Preeti looking so happy and bubbling over with joy. What's happening? Come inside. And somehow Manjula also started smiling. You know something, Manju? I'm acting in a play and it's happening tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. Please, please, please say you will come. I need somebody. This is my first play and I'm the main protagonist. I want you there cheering for me. Please say you will come. Calm down, calm down. I'll be there, I promise, said Manju. And the next evening, she did go for the play. And she sat there enraptured, watching the whole thing, and she loved it. She was the one to clap the loudest. And when she went backstage, she hugged her friend and said, wow, I really couldn't believe it was you, Preeti. You did a fabulous job. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Manju. I'm so glad you came and you're appreciating me. This is such a huge thing for me. But how did you get into this, Preeti? Call me tomorrow and tell you, she said. And so next morning, Manjula called her. And Preeti said, why don't you come too? Come and join the new play we're discussing. Why don't you come and see? And so Manjula went. And she went more and more often. And she soon found that she really enjoyed being with this crowd. And one day the director turned to her and said, why don't you start acting too? You're a natural, Really? Yes, I'm going to give you a small role. And so that was that. Every now and then she started getting those small roles. And one day she was given one of the bigger roles. And she was so happy. She was so happy. She didn't even realize that not only 6 months, 8 months had gone by before she had called Indu. So one evening she sat down and dialed the number. Within 2 rings, Indu picked up. So, Manju, how are you? Oh, Indu, you won't believe this. Something fantastic has happened. I've joined this theater group and I am acting in plays. What a wonderful time I've been having. And on and on and on she went, not giving Indu a chance to talk. And Indu smiled. And she said, when Manjula finally stopped, she said, you found your ikigai, haven't you? Yes, said Manju. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, how great. Finding
I
your
hope those
ikigai.
who found
Is that tell us what?
Yeah, finding purpose list. I think, this is a lot. In fact, when I shared this story with my daughter, she calls me every evening and asks me for a story. That's one of the reasons I like being a storyteller. She's 30 years old, but she says at
Wow.
night time, she's ahead of us because she's in Australia. So she calls
Wow.
me around 9:30, 10 minutes. Her time, it's around 5, 6 in the evening for me. And she tells me, Ma, tell me a story. I'm not getting sleep. So I would tell her most of my own stories. And yesterday when I told her this one, she said, Ma, it sounds a lot like your life. And I said, yeah, I finally found my ikigai. So I think most of the stories I write has some amount of, my own life in it.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Very inspirational. Thank you so much. Okay. Our next storyteller is Bobby, and I am going to spotlight Bobby for everyone. Bobby Kincaid is about to tell us, she's been coming every month for the last few months and telling us fire stories, and she told us that this is the last in this series. So please tell us one more fire story, Bobby.
I want to say also that my great-grandchild is here, Rosie, and she's been watching my stories. I take them off the off of YouTube and I do it all fancy and then she listens to them. Hi, Rosie. So tonight is the last one. It's been a long series, but I want people to be aware of fire and how hungry he is. And I think we left off where the monkeys had fire and they showed it to the human hunter. And in place of the hunter going back and asking him nicely if he could have a piece of fire, he put on this birch cord and then he went in and he stole fire and he went back to his camp running with the monkeys chasing after him. Well, the other hunters had a big pit and in the pit they put all this wood and he came in and he threw his jacket on it and the fire went up. In the meantime, the hunters beat the monkeys off because they thought they were chasing the other hunter. Complicated. And they had the sticks ready with their squash and whatever, and they roasted it up and they had a fine time. Delicious. And then they sat around the fire, was calming down, and they fell asleep. But in the meantime, their kids took the sticks out, you know how children are, and they were playing with it and tossing it around and having fun. And the wind loved it. And he came up and he blew on those sticks, and the flames went up. And before you knew it, those flames rushed over and they got into the trees. Well, the trees are the holders of fire, and they just boop, 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 bang, bang, bang. And it was devastating. And then pretty soon the hunters woke up because they could hear this crackling and feel the warmth, and they could smell. The smell bothered them, and they noticed that the fire had gotten out and it was in the trees. And they rushed to their huts, and the fire came in and he burned his huts up. And then the hunters noticed that the animals were in the river, so they got in the river and they pushed water and mud on it to keep it from coming to get them. Well, it had calmed down a bit, and the hunters decided they just track right up the river and go someplace else. But the animals were left. In the meantime, there's always somebody that helps people. They always show up. We have Bertha Digby. She's a squirrel. She lived up along hills away, and she'd been out visiting some cousins. And so she was coming home and she was on this high hill and she saw this smoke just hills and hills away. And she said, I have to go see what's the matter. I'm going to go there. So she walked and walked. And by the time she got there, the fire had smothered out pretty much. There was just little patches of smoke. Some of the trees were alive. And she noticed all the animals were going up this hill. And she said, wait, where are you going? And they said, there's nothing here for us. No homes, no food. It's just ashes. We don't feel comfortable here. And she said, you can't leave your forest. There's some things living in here. And they said, oh, yes, we can. We don't want to live here. We are leaving. And she said, I rebuilt the forest once that burned and we can do it again. I can help you. And they said, no, no, no. And she got a little haughty and she said, well, I'll just do it myself. You don't have to be here. Well, Father Rabbit was listening and he said, I'll help you. And his little kid said, yeah. And his wife said that. And then the other animals started thinking, they said, it might be easier to stay here and rebuild. So she said, it'll take a while and you have to do a lot of stuff, but if you're willing, we can do this. And they said, yes, yes. She said, you have to follow some orders from me. And they said, yes, yes, we can do this. And she said, okay. The dogs and the foxes and the wolves, they'll be digging around and Pig can come and root up the dirt and the ashes and mix it together. In the meantime, all the other squirrels here go out and find some nuts or seeds of all the different trees, spruce, pine, birch, whatever you can find, and we'll dig little holes and we put them in there. So they came back, dug the little holes where the dirt had been dug up by the dog's family, and they planted that. And then she said, a beaver? He said, yeah. She says, have you repaired your dam yet? And he said, no. She said, go out there and put some fresh wood in it and get the water back in it. And Gopher and Mole said, well, we'll dig some little trenches so that the water can flow down into our trees. And she said, fine. Well, in the meantime, Papa Rabbit had gone out and he'd found some grass seeds, and his little children had gathered some flower seeds. So he was hopping back and he tripped, and all those grass seeds just flew, and the wind came. Oh, wind had a wonderful time. It blew all those seeds all over everywhere, and the kids just threw up their seeds and they just went everywhere, and they had flower and grass seeds mixed all up into the trees. Well, they watered everything and they took care of it. And after so many years, uh, it had grown up quite a bit, and the animals were so pleased. They had their houses back. Some lived in the trees, some lived in the bushes, some burrowed themselves back into the ground. They had food, they had flowers to eat, just all kinds of wonderful things had happened. And then one day they heard this bang, bang, bang. It was Beaver beating his tail on the water. And they got a little scared, and Beaver said, humans coming. Well, the animal cousins were really afraid of the humans because they had caused all this, and they hid. They hid. Well, the humans came in and they were nice humans. They went and they looked at the flowers and the trees. In the meantime, Bertha was chatting at him. Don't do this. Don't touch that. Stay off of that. Stay off the grass. Those are our trees. No, that's somebody's home. Quite, quite. Talk quietly. Somebody's sleeping over there, and they kind of listened to Bertha in her little tail chattering and stuff, and so they left. And everybody was so pleased. They came out of their dens and everything, and started talking again and doing their little animal things. And then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 days later, there was another whap, whap, whap. And Beaver said, humans coming again, humans coming. They got sticks, beware. So everybody hid again in the trees, in the bushes, in the dirt, under rocks. And the humans came up, and Bertha was ready. She was screeching at them. Her tail was going back and forth. Her children's tails were going back and forth. And they were saying, why are you here? Don't do that. Don't do that. And then as they noticed, the humans were scraping little paths through the trees very carefully, very carefully. And she chattered to chatter. She said, no, don't go over there. There's flowers. Don't go over there. There's flowers. And when they were through, it looked really nice. And from that time on, humans came in through the forest that Bertha Digby and her friends had created. And these animals were not afraid of the humans anymore because they didn't bring fire. So be careful when you use fire. all the time. Keep it in a container, a pit, a hearth, or whatever. Don't play with it. Don't throw it around or anything like that because fire is hungry. And also, what fire did, like the old bush god Chan, he said, if humans get fire, there'll be disharmony between the trees and the animals, which happened. The trees could no longer speak to anybody. They were stuck in the ground. The animal cousins could chatter, chatter, and make all the noise they could, but they couldn't talk to the humans. And the humans were kind of left by themselves without their friends and tree people to help them. So over all these stories, the bush god was right. Be careful with fire. Be very careful with fire. And I want to thank you for listening to my series, and it's been a pleasure. I don't know.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
You're welcome.
We've been in our area anyway, lucky this year that
Yep.
the hungry fire, but it's too easy for us humans to forget.
Yes.
What better way to remember rather than being lectured to is through a story
Yes.
or a whole series of stories.
Yes.
about
Well,
the
thank you
hungry
for
fire.
listening. It was a
Thank you.
was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Bobby.
I hope little Rosie enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope so
All
too.
right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
The future, yes. That's why we pass stories down to the next generation or the next generation. All right. Now we're going to hear a story from Rose Owens, and let me spotlight you, Rose. Okay, there we go. Okay, please, Rose. Will this be another personal story? Let's see. I'm not hearing you. Yeah, I'm not hearing you. We heard you before. I don't see that it says let me see if it says you're muted. No. Hmm. Huh.
Check your computer speaker, Rose, your laptop speaker. Sometimes that is switched off. Or maybe you can log off and log in again.
Yeah.
There could be some glitch.
What do you think, Rose? You want to log out and log in again? Yeah, we can't hear you.
It's odd because it's showing your mic is on
Right.
in the participant list.
Right.
Yeah.
And we heard Rose, before the
Yes.
session started. Yeah. I'm going to pause the recording. Let me see.
So playing around with the microphone worked then. Okay, here we go.
Yay. Okay.
Okay, so this is a personal story and it's called Dinosaur Land. When I was born, I lived in a little town called Vernal, Utah. Now, if you look, you can find Vernal on the map. But what you may not know was that Vernal had a different name. Vernal became known as Dinosaur Land. And the reason is because clear back in the 1920s, which was before I was born, they discovered dinosaur bones. Well, dinosaur fossil bones in the area. And they began at the quarry to dig up these bones, and they sent them out to museums here and there and all over. And around 1950s, which was when I was in elementary school, it was decided that we ought to be keeping some of those bones here instead of sending them all off. Now, when I went downtown, in the middle of town, there was a big museum. And in front of it, there was this gigantic statue of dinosaur bones. Now, I don't know if they were plastic replicas or real things, but there was this dinosaur skeleton with a chain link fence around it. And inside the museum, there were all kinds of displays. Now, I have to confess that I wasn't that impressed with the dinosaurs. What I liked in the museum was the black light room. When you went in the black light room, and you reached over it and you turned off the light switch. Then those ultraviolet lights came on and the minerals glowed different colors. But I wasn't worried about the colors of the marks either. I was looking at my hands would look blue. And my clothes would have a lavender cast, and my yellow, white socks were lavender, and even my hair would have a slightly lavender cast. Now, we went to a lot of field trips out to the dinosaur quarry. The very first time I ever went out to the dinosaur quarry, there was this ranger, and he stood on the top of a very barren hill, and he pointed off in that direction, and he said this was where they had found the most of the dinosaur bones. And he was boring. And eventually he got around to showing us the bones, and he lifted up a burlap covering off of the bones, and there it was. Some bones underneath that burlap covering. Not really that impressive, but there they were. Now, in subsequent years, when I went out to the quarry, there was a metal shack that had been built up against the hillside to protect the workers and the bones. And eventually they built this big, beautiful building. And this big, beautiful building is built right up against the hillside. And there are 1,500 bones exposed that people can see. And some of them they can even touch. And I went to the dedication of that museum. And still, I wasn't that impressed. I mean, dinosaurs in my backyard, so. And then I went to college. And I took a geology class. And then I realized what a really fantastic thing was in my very own backyard. Now, that summer when I went home, I went out to the dinosaur quarry and I got a job. Now, it wasn't because of any technical expertise I had. No, the reason that I got the job was that Dr. Jones, who was in charge of the quarry, he had broken his wrist and his arm, and he was in a cast from his wrist clear up to his shoulder. And my job was to follow him around with my notebook and my pencil and write down all of his directions. That was in the morning. And in the afternoon, I went back into his office and I sat in the corner at this little dinky desk with a portable typewriter, and I typed up my notes and gave them to him. And I was there that day when he got a phone call. Hello? Yes, this is Dr. Jones. Who is this? Ted? I don't know any Ted. You're calling me from where? Alaska? Is this some kind of a prank? I don't have time for pranks. I'm an important man. And as he started to hang up the phone, I heard that voice louder on the other end. I said, but we have found a frozen baby dinosaur, and we don't know what it is. You found what and how? Oh, no. Stop the digging. Do not let the bulldozers near the dinosaur. I am coming. And he hung up the phone and he said, and those idiots, they do not know how to take care of dinosaur bones. And he said, young lady, you go home, you pack your suitcase, don't forget your long johns, and don't forget that little portable typewriter. Now, it was 180 miles from Vernal to Salt Lake, a 3-hour car trip. Dr. Jones was not waiting for any 3-hour car trip. Next thing I knew, we were at the airport, and we boarded the plane and we flew into Salt Lake. And when we got to Salt Lake, we got on a bigger plane. I was the first time I'd ever flown, and here I was in business class, first class, and the stewardess was wonderful. Dr. Jones was not. His pillow underneath his arm had to be moved this way and that way, and the pillow behind his neck. And when they served us something to eat, why, I had to cut up his chicken. I had to put the straw in his drink. I was so glad when he went to sleep. And then we got to Alaska, and we got on snowmobiles, and out to the side we went. And there we were, and Dr. Jones was walking around and down and into that pit, and was looking at that baby dinosaur, and the head and the shoulders and the front legs were exposed. But we couldn't hear a thing that he was saying. Every time he spoke, his words froze, and they fell out in this little kind of funny egg shape. And I had to take those little egg-shaped things of Dr. Jones inside to the metal shed, and I put them near the fire, not too close, but near the fire, and wait until they thawed. You can't believe the confusion there was inside that shed. All of the voices, but I could sort out Dr. Jones's words, and I wrote them down on the pad and took them back out. And Dr. Jones was still talking, and all of those words were just falling down at his feet. And I was looking down into the pit. I noticed something. When nobody was noticing me, I slipped down into that pit and I picked up that big white egg-shaped thing and I took it inside and I placed it by the fire, not too close, but close enough, and I waited. And lo and behold, the roar of the dinosaur was heard again in the land.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I am the most gullible person in the world. So have you participated in any liars contests, Rose?
You know, the story, it's true that I was born and raised in Vernal, Utah. It is all true up until the time I went to college.
I
And
was
then
going to ask, that was the question I wanted to ask you on behalf of all of us, is where did the story go from truth
yeah,
to small tale?
a man named Hector Tamorian was a writer in our area, and he was in a Toastmasters club, and he won a prize with this Roar of the Dinosaur story. And I asked him for permission because it fits so perfectly with my background, kind of a thing. And then I had to come up with a reasonable reason why would a scientist take a inexperienced girl to Alaska with him. So I invented the broken arm for Dr. Jones and whatever. And so anyway, you know, I've thought about this, but it's taking it to a liar's contest or a tall tale contest that isn't going to work, because the beauty of this story is that I just sweep you along with you and you don't have time to think it. If I was in a liar's contest, people would automatically be looking to see where's the lie in it, where's the tall tale starting. So this is the kind of a venue that this story comes in the best, where nobody has an idea that I'm going to pull this kind of a thing. Anyway, so that's the dinosaur land.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. What a great way to wrap up our evening. That is our storytellers for this month. Let's unmute ourselves and give a round of applause for Lucinda as our special featured teller and all our other wonderful tellers tonight. What a lovely evening.
Yay!
Yay.
Hooray! Terrific. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
I'm
much.
gonna okay, sorry. I'm gonna stop the recording, and then I do want to okay.